Welcome to Lesson 1 Review. I'm your instructor, Evan Gertis, and this is Terraform 0 to Hero. We're going to go over the topics that we discussed in Lesson 1. So what is infrastructure as code? It's code that you write and execute and define, deploy, and update all in a single configuration. So in Terraform, we have this declarative language where we say machine be this way. And we're able to write that down in code. Then we can run a plan that will tell us what's going to change in our infrastructure, and then we can apply that code so that the infrastructure actually takes on those changes. What are the benefits of infrastructure as code? Well, the first one is automation. We can bring up servers with one script and scale them down based on our load with the same script. And then we also have reusability. We can reuse the same code over and over again. So whatever you wrote for provisioning one AWS instance can be reused in another area. And we have versioning. We can check our code into version control, such as Git or Bitbucket, and we can see an incremental history of who changed the code, how it was changed, and what it was at any given point in time. This allows us to maintain code that is itempotent, consistent, repeatable, and predictable. Speaking of which, what is itempotent? In terms of infrastructure as code, it means that it is code that ensures that even if it's applied multiple times, the result remains the same. Okay, that's interesting. So we also have this concept of day 0 and day 1 activities. We want to make sure that things stay the same. So day 0 is our initialization point. Day 0 code provisions and configures your initial infrastructure. Day 1 refers to any time after that. So day 1 refers to OS and application configurations you've applied after you've initially built your infrastructure. What are the advantages of Terraform again? Well, it's platform agnostic. It doesn't matter if you're using Google Cloud, Azure, or AWS. Each one of those is a provider in Terraform. All we have to do is write the code in Terraform, and then Terraform Core will talk to the API. It'll create all those resources for you and data sources as well, which allows us to track state very efficiently. We can see exactly what we have in our staging environment, our development environments, such as prod, staging, sandbox, which gives us confidence that these environments are what we think they are. We have as many resources as we think we have because we can see it in code. This is very important because it capitalizes on scalability. Let's say 1 hour we need 100 versions of a web server, and then in another hour we need 500 versions. Well, all we have to do is just multiply those resources. We can change the count. We can scale our resources as needed. This allows us to cut costs down, not only from an automation standpoint, which saves us a ton of money because we don't have operators in these cloud platforms clicking around, creating virtual private cloud networks willy-nilly, making Snowflake configurations. They're all kept uniformly in Terraform, which means that it's easily repeatable. It's uniform throughout. Whatever we say we have in Terraform is what we have in the cloud, which also gives us consistency. Where can we find these configuration files? Configuration files are any files that end with .tf. Well, how can Terraform build infrastructure so efficiently? Terraform builds a graph of all your resources and parallelizes the creation and modification of any non-dependent resources. Because of this, Terraform builds infrastructure as efficiently as possible, and operators get insight into the dependencies of the infrastructure. We know all the links in our infrastructure. We can just see it in a graph. That's it for Lesson 1 review. I hope they enjoyed this episode, and I hope you keep on learning Terraform.